The morning sun spilled over the marble floors of Nwoke's Maitama mansion, scattering gold across imported curtains and crystal chandeliers. To outsiders, Mrs. Amara Nwoke had everything: a Range Rover in the driveway, maids who greeted her with "Good morning, Ma," and a husband whose name opened government doors. Yet beneath the polish, her world was cracking. Toby Chukwu Nwoke, Tobe to his friends, so to his employees, was a self-made investor who measured love in obedience. He told stories of his grind from Nsukka to Abuja, how he built Nwoke Holdings from a single land deal. But in private, power had turned to poison. "Everything you are, Amara, exists because of me," he would say, voice dripping pride. "Without me, you'd still be that ordinary HR girl in Wuse." She'd smile weakly, hiding the sting. She had once loved his confidence, mistaking arrogance for ambition. Now it felt like chains. Each time she tried to breathe, suggest a business idea, visit her mother in Gaki, he tightened those chains a little more. At dinner one night, as a generator hummed outside and CNN flickered on the wall, she gathered courage. "Tobe, I've been thinking of starting a small HR consultancy. For youth employment." He didn't even look up from his phone. "You? A business?" He laughed. "My dear, not everyone is built for greatness. Just enjoy being Mrs. Nwoke. That's enough brand for you." Silence hung like smoke. She forced a smile, but inside, something shattered. That night she lay awake, the air conditioner humming softly, staring at the ceiling fan slicing the dark. Her heart whispered a truth she had avoided for years. This wasn't love. It was ownership. Outside, Abuja's distant sirens wailed. Inside, Amara decided she would never let another man define her world again. Days became weeks of quiet resentment. Amara perfected the art of silence, smiling at events, nodding at business dinners, posing for photographs where her husband's arm rested heavy on her shoulder. But every compliment about being lucky cut deeper. Lucky? To live in fear of your own husband's temper? Tobe's empire grew. Senators invited him to golf clubs. Ministers called him "my brother." He flaunted Amara as a trophy. Yet at home, he belittled her for every small mistake. When she served dinner late, he barked, "Even with all I provide, you still can't keep up." When she bought a modest necklace with her savings, he mocked, "Trying to look rich without my money." The final blow came at a gala in Transcorp Hilton. While she greeted guests, she overheard two businessmen gossiping near the champagne table. "So, Chairman introduced that new babe to the minister's son? Heard wedding soon." Amara froze. Chairman was Tobe. New babe? Wedding? Her smile never faltered, but inside, her chest caved. That night she confronted him. "Tobe, is it true you're seeing someone else?" He poured himself a drink, calm as ever. "Don't embarrass yourself. You're just a wife. Don't confuse position with importance." The next morning, her credit card stopped working. The joint account showed zero balance. He'd blocked her access to teach her humility. He expected tears. Instead, she packed a suitcase, slipped off a wedding ring, and walked out of the marble mansion without a backward glance. She moved into a small apartment in Jai, one room, peeling paint, leaky tap. Her mother's eyes filled with worry. "My daughter, Abuja can be cruel. Are you sure?" Amara smiled faintly. "I'd rather be free and hungry than rich and caged." She started walking to interviews. HR firms looked at her resume and smirked when they saw her last name. Nwoke? As in Nwoke. Doors closed politely. Still, she refused to break. Every no became fuel for a new beginning. 3 months of rejection ended with a miracle. At a youth workshop, she met Mrs. Onoche, a retired HR director with silver hair and soft eyes. "You have talent, my dear," the older woman said after listening to her ideas. "Don't wait for permission to rise." Mrs. Onoche gave her a contract to train recent graduates on interview skills, 50000 for 3 sessions. It felt like a fortune. Amara registered Amara Consults Limited, borrowing her friend's laptop and renting a small desk in a used 2 co-working space. Her office motto read, "Rebuild, refocus, rise." She began posting short motivational clips online. Her voice trembled in the first one. I was once told I was nothing. Today, I'm starting again. The video gained 30,000 views in 2 days. Comments poured in from women saying, "You gave me hope." Sponsors noticed. NGOs reached out. By year's end, she had 10 clients and 3 interns. Meanwhile, Tobe's empire showed cracks, missed payments, restless investors, but his ego dismissed it. "Nothing I can't fix," he told himself. He didn't know destiny was quietly reversing their roles. Abuja runs on whispers, and soon everyone whispered about Madame Amara. They said she walked into meetings radiating calm power, her head held high, her voice steady. She dressed in tailored Ankara suits, minimal jewelry, no arrogance, only grace. Her free weekend workshop for job seekers went viral under the hashtag #HashRiseWithAmara. She trained over 5,000 youths. Newspapers called her the woman who turned pain into purpose. One afternoon, her secretary rushed in. "Madam, the Ministry of Labor want to partner with us for a national skills program." Amara blinked. "The ministry?" "Yes, ma. Budget is in hundreds of millions." She read the proposal and froze at the fine print. The implementing contractor was Enwoke Holdings. When the file landed on Tobe's desk later that week, he smirked. "Look at life. My ex-wife wants to work with me now." He signed arrogantly, believing she would draw once she saw his name. At the first meeting in Transcorp Hilton, officials filled the room. When Tobe swaggered in, expecting to chair the session, he stopped cold. Amara sat at the head table beside the minister, dossier in hand. She rose gracefully. "Good afternoon, Mr. Enwoke. Please, have a seat." Laughter rippled softly through the room. Power had changed its address. The hall glittered with chandeliers, cameras flashing as pressmen documented the new partnership. Tobe tried to regain control, interrupting mid-presentation. "With all due respect, my company." The minister cut him off. "Mr. Enwoke, let's allow Madame Amara finish. She's leading this project." Amara clicked her remote, slides lighting up behind her. Her voice carried confidence and calm. "Our goal is to empower 50,000 unemployed youths within 1 year. Transparency, training, and transformation, those are our pillars." The audience erupted in applause. She thanked the board and turned to the minister. "With your approval, sir, I'll sign the oversight agreement today." The minister smiled. "Please proceed." She uncapped her gold pen and signed. Steady, deliberate, powerful. Cameras flashed again. That single signature transferred payment control to her office. Tobe's jaw tightened. In a matter of seconds, his company's biggest contract depended on her authorization. After the meeting, he caught up with her in the corridor. "You can't do this, Amara," he hissed. "You can't control me." She met his eyes, calm and composed. "You once said I was nothing without you," she replied softly. "Now look who needs whose signature." "Huh." Convoy pulled out of the parking lot, tinted SUVs gleaming under Abuja sun. Tobe stood motionless, the wind tugging his tie, watching the woman he once belittled drive away into a destiny she wrote herself. He didn't know it yet, but that day marked the death of his pride and the beginning of Madame's signature. 4 years Tobe had ruled every boardroom he entered, yet that evening he could barely hold a fork. His mansion in Maitama felt like a mausoleum, too quiet, too big, too full of reminders that control was slipping away. He replayed the image of Amara's pen gliding across the document, transferring oversight of his billion-naira project to her company. The news had already spread through Abuja's grapevine. At the exclusive lounge in Views 2, whispers followed him. "Guy, N.A. your ex-wife Day sign your release now, oh." Even his driver noticed the change. The boss who once barked orders now stared out of tinted glass, silent. Kendra, his 20-something fiancée, twirled wine beside him that night. "Baby, you're stressing. Why let that woman bother you?" Tobe's voice cracked. "That woman was supposed to be beneath me. Now people act like she created me." Kendra smirked. "Then outshine her. Throw a bigger deal." But money couldn't buy back respect. Investors grew wary. If government funds passed through Amara's signature, they needed her goodwill. Calls he once received in seconds now took days. Meetings that used to start with "Chairman, welcome," now began with polite restraint. He tried to drown frustration in whiskey, but each sip only burned harder. In his study, he slammed a glass on the table. "I made her. I built her confidence. How dare she?" The echo mocked him. Deep down he knew she hadn't taken anything. She had only revealed the emptiness behind his arrogance. His empire wasn't shaking because of her. It was shaking because pride had hollowed its foundation. While Tobe unraveled, Amara rose with quiet determination. Her mornings began before dawn: devotion, journaling, then strategy meetings. Her office buzzed with youthful energy, interns laughing, clients streaming in, printers humming. She walked through it all in calm focus, the scent of jasmine following her like signature perfume. Yet beneath the poise was relentless work. She handled policy drafts, media interviews, and reports to the labor ministry herself. When fatigue crept in, she remembered the night she cried in Jai and pushed on. Her mother visited often. "You're everywhere on TV, my daughter," she teased. "Just don't forget to rest." Amara smiled. Rest comes after impact. It was during one such visit that inspiration struck. She wanted to use her story to lift other women trapped in silent pain. By month's end, she registered Rise Again Foundation, an NGO offering vocational training and microgrants for divorced or abused women. The launch was modest, a rented hall in Gaki, 30 attendees, but social media amplified it beyond measure. Within weeks, donations poured in, including from diaspora supporters moved by her videos. At a conference, the minister commended her. "Madam Amara, your courage gives hope to our daughters." The cameras captured her smile, poised, gracious, radiant. That clip went viral. Hashtags like #MadamSignature trended for days. Abuja began to see her not just as a woman who defied her husband, but as a national voice. And through it all, she remained humble, thanking God quietly before bed. "You turn my pain into purpose." Pride rarely dies quietly. Tobe kept pretending everything was fine, hosting loud parties in his mansion, buying a new Mercedes just to silence gossip. But people weren't fooled. At an entrepreneurship summit in Hilton, he sat among captains of industry when the keynote speaker referenced Amara. True leadership is turning adversity into opportunity, like Mrs. Amara Woke, whose foundation now empowers thousands. The hall thundered with applause. Cameras flashed toward Amara, elegant in a cream jumpsuit, smiling graciously. Tobe sat frozen 2 rows behind her. When the MC later invited him to comment, his voice faltered. Yes, she's done well." The words tasted like acid. During cocktails, a senator clapped him on the back. "Chairman, you trained her well, oh." Laughter followed. He forced a smile, but inside humiliation twisted like a knife. That night, he dismissed his driver and drove aimlessly through Abuja's glowing streets, Bannock's, views to Jabi Lake, places that once reminded him of triumph now whispered failure. The billboard showing Amara's foundation felt like taunts, her confident face beside the slogan "Empowerment begins within." He parked by the lake, staring at his reflection in the dark water. For the first time, he questioned himself, not his wealth, but his worth. The truth he avoided screamed in silence. He hadn't lost to Amara. He'd lost to his own insecurity. Trouble came before dawn, a convoy of white Hilux trucks outside his gate. EFCC agent presented papers, polite but firm. "Routine audit. Sir, we need access to your project accounts." The staff panicked. Social media didn't. Within hours, blogs screamed. EFCC questions Tobe and Woke over contract discrepancies. Though no charges were filed, the damage was immediate. Partners withdrew, banks delayed credit lines, and the ministry froze further disbursements pending clarification. From Amara's office, he called her number twice. She didn't answer. He tried through mutual friends. No luck. Desperation replaced pride. Even Kendra packed her bags. "I didn't sign up for scandal," she snapped, slamming the door. His once bustling mansion turned ghost quiet. Generators off to save fuel. Phones unanswered. He stared at his award shelf. Plaques for Businessman of the Year, Young Tycoon, Philanthropist. They felt meaningless. 3 sleepless nights he sat on the veranda, replaying the journey, the first land deal, the first million, the first time he called Amara mine. He saw now how every victory had been about control, not purpose. On the fourth morning, his lawyer, Barrister Okchukwu, arrived. "Sir, only Madam Amora's endorsement can unfreeze those accounts. She chairs the oversight board." Tobe's throat tightened. "You mean the woman I—" "Yes, sir. You will have to see her." For the first time, humility pierced his armor. He nodded slowly. "Booked a meeting." Amora's office in Central Area had grown into a sleek glass-fronted hub, walls adorned with photos of graduates and entrepreneurs her programs had lifted. When her secretary announced, "Madam, Mr. Tobe Nwoke is here," the room fell silent. Her staff exchanged glances. She simply said, "Let him wait." An hour passed before she stepped out of a boardroom, files in hand, white suit crisp, heels clicking softly on marble. Tobe rose from the lobby chair, thinner now, eyes rimmed with fatigue. "Amara," he began, voice low. She gestured toward her office. "Come in." He sat across her desk, the same man who once banned her from working, now shrinking in the seat opposite. "I came," he said, clearing his throat, "because the EFCC has issues with our paperwork. If you could just clarify, approve the last tranche, it'll clear everything." She regarded him silently, fingers interlaced. "Tobe," she said finally, "you once said I'd crawl back when you cut my cards." He winced. "I was stupid." "Yes," she nodded, "but arrogance has consequences." He lowered his gaze. "Please, Amara, I'm not asking for pity, just fairness. I know you owe me nothing, but—" She interrupted softly. "You're wrong. I owe you something. Gratitude. You taught me who I never want to become." He looked up, eyes wet. She rose, walked to the window overlooking Abuja's skyline. "I'll review your documents. If they're clean, I'll sign. Not because you asked, but because integrity demands it." Relief washed over him. "Thank you." As he stood to leave, she added quietly, "One more thing. Next time you think a woman is nothing without you, remember this meeting." Outside, the late afternoon sun bathed the city in gold. Tobe stepped into its glare, blinking, realizing the irony. He'd once believed he was a sun. Now she was a light illuminating his path to redemption. Amara returned to her desk, opened the file, and signed the clearance with calm precision. One stroke of her pen spared him ruin. Yet her expression remained serene. Not triumph, not revenge, only closure. That evening, when her mother called, she said softly, "Mama, I signed his papers." Her mother smiled through the phone. "You see? Forgiveness is a higher power." Amara looked out her window at the city lights and whispered, "And higher peace." That night, long after she signed the papers that rescued Tobe from collapse, Amara sat alone in her apartment in Asakoro. The city's power had flickered out again, leaving only the soft hum of her inverter and the orange glow from a single candle. She placed her phone face down and let silence settle. Outside, distant horn from Asso Drive faded into wind. She could still hear his voice from years before. The insults, the slammed doors, the moment he called her an expense with emotions. She remembered the night a wine glass shattered against the wall beside her head when she suggested starting a business. The scent of spilled wine had mixed with fear. That smell sometimes returned in dreams. Tonight, though, she felt no fear, just reflection. Her mother had always said pain was a teacher, not a prison. Amara understood that now. Every humiliation had prepared her for composure. Every night she cried in Jai had become the brickwork of her strength. A soft knock pulled her from thought. Her assistant, Ngozi, peeked in. "Madam, your tea." "Thank you. You can go home." "Are you sure? It's late." "I'm sure," Amara smiled. "Get some rest." When the door closed, she whispered, "Rest," tasting the word like something new. She'd signed a document that gave a man peace. In return, she'd earned her own. Forgiveness, she realized, wasn't surrender. It was detachment. She was free of him now, not because he changed, but because she did. She poured the tea, took a sip, and opened her laptop. Tomorrow she would meet donors for Rise Again Foundation. Life moved forward. The candle flame wavered in the quiet room like a tiny, loyal friend. Morning sun spilled across a conference table in her office. Journalists waited outside, but Amara had refused interviews. She wanted no headlines about the ex-wife who saved her husband. Mercy didn't need microphones. At 10 o'clock sharp, Toad walked in again. No designer suit, no entourage, just a man in a plain blue shirt holding a folder. His shoulders had lost the arrogance she once recognized. He stopped a few steps from her desk. "I came to thank you." She gestured to a chair. "Sit, Mr. Nwoke." He managed a half-smile. "Still formal, eh?" "Professional," she corrected. He Saturday. Silence stretched. Outside, engines rumbled along the expressway. "I know I can't erase the past," he said finally, voice low, "but I want to make things right." Amara folded her hands. "What does right mean to you?" "Repentance, restitution, maybe partnership on something good." She studied him. Gone was the swagger. In its place stood contrition that almost looked genuine. "You once said I was nothing without you," she reminded softly. He nodded. "And I was wrong." "Words are easy, Tobe. Change is tested." He opened his folder and slid a proposal toward her. 100 million Nigerian nairas in corporate social responsibility funds redirected from his luxury car project to sponsor 500 women through Rise Again Foundation. "I want to help them," he said. "Not for publicity. Because I owe a debt to you, to them, to life." Amara's brows lifted slightly. "You'll sign this publicly? With your name?" "Yes." "Then you'll rebuild what pride destroyed," she murmured. She reached for her pen, amended a clause to ensure the funds came directly through the foundation, then signed. When he rose to leave, she extended her hand. He hesitated, then shook it gently. "Thank you," he whispered. As he walked out, the staff peered through glass partitions. Stunned, Amara exhaled slowly, then turned to Ngozi. "Prepare a press release. Rise Again Foundation receives corporate partnership for women empowerment. No names. You don't want credit." She smiled. "Mercy isn't a campaign. It's a seed." That evening, she stood on her balcony watching the sky turn orange over Abuja. Somewhere out there, Toad was confronting his guilt. She didn't need to see it. Mercy had already done its work. By the next morning, social media had exploded anyway. A journalist leaked the story. Toad Nwoke donates 100 million Nigerian nairas to ex-wife's foundation. Pictures surfaced from the signing ceremony. Amara in an emerald suit, Toad beside her, both smiling politely. Hashtags multiplied. #ForgiveToRise, #MadamSignature, #MenCanChange. At radio stations, callers debated. "She get better hardo," one said. Another laughed. "If Fene me, I go watch him suffer first." Abuja feasted on the drama, but the narrative favored Amara. She was the emblem of grace in a world addicted to vengeance. Meanwhile, Rise Again Foundation burst into a new era. The donation funded vocational centers in Kubwa, Cuge, and Gwagwalada. Women who once hawked groundnuts learned tailoring and digital marketing. News crews filmed transformations, a widow sewing school uniforms, a single mother opening a mini-salon. Every success story echoed Amora's message: "You are not defined by who left you." At the National Women's Summit, the Minister of Labor introduced her with reverence. Mrs. Amara Nwoke turned heartbreak into national development. The whole rose in applause. Toad watched from the audience, clapping too, eyes glistening. Backstage later, he approached her quietly. "They should call you Madam Nation, not Madam Signature." She smiled faintly. "No, Tobe, I'm just a reminder that grace still works." For the first time since their marriage, his smile held no competition, only respect. Months passed like chapters in a calmer book. The EFCC cleared Toad's company. He downsized, selling the excess, the yacht in Calabar, the second mansion in Guzape, and began attending entrepreneurship panels as a mentor, not a monarch. His speeches changed. "Leadership isn't domination," he would say. "It's responsibility." I learned that the hard way. Younger entrepreneurs listened. Some knew the story but never heard him admit it aloud. The humility in his tone gave the confession weight. Amara watched from afar, proud but detached. Her world had expanded beyond him. Rise again operated in 10 states. Her consultancy partnered with the Cows for youth employment programs. Invitations flooded in Kenya, Ghana, South Africa. Her diary filled with flights and conferences. One afternoon her mother teased, "Madam Minister soon, eh?" Amara laughed. "Let's finish rebuilding lives first." Still, there were quiet moments, nights when exhaustion whispered loneliness. She prayed, read Psalms 91, and reminded herself that peace was not the absence of love, it was a presence of purpose. When she met Tobe again at a UN Development Roundtable, their handshake was cordial. "Good to see you thriving," he said. "You too," she replied. "Maybe pain was our curriculum," he mused. "And grow our degree," she answered with a smile. A week after that conference, a courier delivered a small brown envelope to Amara's office. Inside was a handwritten letter, Tobe's tidy script across cream paper. "Amara, you once told me silence can be strength. I finally understand. When you refused to fight, you forced me to face myself. You didn't just forgive me, you freed me. Thank you for saving me from the man I used to be. Tobe." She read it twice, folded it carefully, and placed it in the drawer beside her first business certificate. She felt no flutter, only closure, like a chapter ending exactly where it should. That evening she stood by her office window, Abuja lights shimmering below like constellations. Her assistant entered softly. "Madam, the President's office confirmed your appointment to the National Women's Development Board." Amara smiled. "God's timing," she whispered. She turned back to the view, the city that had witnessed her fall and rise, and breathed deeply. Somewhere, a muezzin called the evening prayer. Peace settled over her like a shawl. She had forgiven, built, and blossomed, and now destiny was opening yet another door, waiting for her signature. The nickname began as a joke in ministry corridors, and a madam signature we day wait for, oh. But within months it became legend. Every major contract under the Youth Employment Initiative required Amara's approval. Her calm blue ink signature, looping neatly across the last page, had become the final word on billion-naira budgets. Businessmen who once courted Tobe's favor now rehearsed humility before her. Reporters speculated about how one woman could rise so far without scandal. She ignored the noise. Each morning she prayed, reviewed her task list, and reminded her staff, impact first, ego never. Still, power attracts envy. Anonymous letters accused her of favoritism. Rival consultants whispered that she was too ambitious for a woman. When an aide suggested she respond publicly, she shook her head. Truth doesn't shout. It endures. Meanwhile, Rise Again Foundation tripled in scope. Workshops ran simultaneously in Gom, Port Harcourt, and Benin. International donors took notice. The UN invited her to Geneva. Forbes Africa requested an interview. At the same time, Tobe, now quieter, thinner, almost gentle, had begun volunteering at those same workshops. The first day he arrived, women murmured, recognizing him. He said nothing, rolled up his sleeves, and helped carry chairs. Amara saw him from afar and felt a strange peace. Perhaps redemption really was possible. That evening, her driver laughed softly. "Madam, even ogre days serve you now." She smiled. "No, he's serving a purpose. That's bigger than me." The Federal Palace Hall glittered with chandeliers and sequins. It was a national entrepreneurship gala, and Abuja's elite had gathered to celebrate innovation. Amara, in a flowing gold gown, stepped onto the red carpet as flashes burst like fireworks. Inside, she sat beside ministers and CEOs, but her thoughts drifted to the girl she once was, the one who slept in darkness in Jai counting coins for transport. When the MC announced, "Woman of the Year, Mrs. Amara woke," the hall erupted. Applause thundered. Cameras zoomed. She walked to the podium, heartbeat steady. Her voice filled the hall. "Once, someone told me I was nothing. But pain has a funny way of introducing you to your purpose. To every woman here, your worth isn't bestowed, it's discovered. Don't wait for validation. Become it. People rose to their feet. Even Tobe, seated near the back, clapped until his palms ached. He realized she no longer carried bitterness, only grace. After the ceremony, he approached her. "Congratulations, Madam's signature." She chuckled. "You finally accepted the name." "I did. You earned it." They posed for one quiet photo, two silhouettes framed by golden lights. By morning, it was trending with a caption, "From heartbreak to honor." Weeks later, Amara received an unexpected call. Tobe wanted to meet, not at a hotel or office, but at Jobby Lake Park, the place where she'd once cried after leaving him. He was waiting on a bench, dressed simply, feeding crumbs to pigeons. She sat beside him, the water glinting silver under the sun. "I'm getting married," he said gently. She smiled. "To peace, I hope." He laughed. "To someone who knows partnership. Her name's Ada Ora. She's kind. I'm happy for you." He nodded. "I needed to tell you in person. I also wanted to apologize properly for everything. I thought power meant control. You prove it means service." Amara looked out across the water. "We both learned," she said. "You learned humility. I learned forgiveness." They sat in comfortable silence, waves lapping against the dock. Finally he stood. "Thank you for teaching me how to be human again." As he walked away, she felt no sadness, only closure. The story that began in arrogance ended in understanding. That night she journaled. Some wounds don't close with revenge. They heal with release. 5 years later, Abuja's skyline shimmered higher. One of the towers bore her company's name, Amara Consults Hub. Inside its glass walls, hundreds of employees trained young Nigerians for global jobs. Rise Again Foundation had expanded across West Africa, partnering with the African Union. Journalists called her Africa's HR architect. She preferred teacher. During a press conference, a reporter asked, "Madam Amara, do you still speak with your ex-husband?" She smiled. "Yes, we sit on the same charity board sometimes. Life's too short for enemies." The foundation launched a new initiative, the Signature Fund, to give women seed capital without collateral. The first check she signed was for 5 million Nigerian nairas to a widow starting a rice processing mill. As she handed it over, the woman knelt, tears in her eyes. "God bless you, Ma. People said I was finished." Amara lifted her gently. "They said that about me too. Prove them wrong." Her signature had once freed her. Now it freed others. One cool Hamata morning, Amara stood on the balcony of her Esokoro home overlooking Abuja's waking skyline. Birds scattered across pale skies. The city hummed below. Her phone buzzed. An email from the presidency. Appointment, Honorable Amara Nwoke, Minister of Women Affairs. She read it twice, closed her eyes, and whispered, "Thank you, Lord." When she walked into the swearing-in ceremony weeks later, cameras flashed, the national anthem swelled, and the president shook her hand. "Madam Minister," he said, smiling, "the nation trusts your signature." Later, in her new office, aides placed file before her for approval. She reached for her gold pen, the same one she had used years ago at Transcorp Hilton. Her assistant teased, "Madam, once again, your signature controls destinies." Amara laughed softly. "No, it just approves the purpose." That evening, as sunset bathed the city in gold, she drove past Jai. The small building where her journey began still stood. She asked the driver to stop, stepped out, and touched the old gate. The wind carried faint echoes of the past, the fear, the hunger, the determination. She smiled through tears. "We made it," she whispered to the younger Amara who once lived there. Back in the car, she glanced at the city lights ahead, symbols of everything she'd built from nothing. Her phone vibrated again, a message from her mother. "Proud of you, my daughter. Your story will teach generations that no one defines a woman but God." Amara exhaled, heart full. From a silenced wife to a national leader, her journey had come full circle. And as her convoy climbed the hill toward the glowing dome of the ministry, the city whispered her title like a blessing. Madam's signature. The end.